Hip-hop and drugs have been linked for decades. Some rappers glorify it, some suffer because of it, and some straight up lie about it. The craziest part? The ones who rapped the hardest about their drug habits weren't always the ones actually living it, while the ones who tried to warn us about addiction ended up becoming victims themselves. So today we're looking at the rappers whose drug use went way deeper than what they put in their lyrics, from those who almost died, to those who actually did, and even the ones who faked it for the aesthetic. Let's start with a rapper who built an entire wave off lean culture, and wasn't even really sipping like that. Future was one of the most influential rappers of the 2010s. He has a dark, moody sound that became the blueprint for modern trap music. His voice, his beats, his lyrics, everything about his brand made you think of a drug-fueled haze. He had anthems like Codeine Crazy and Perky's Calling, making it seem like he was drowning in lean and pills every night.
I'm going crazy about it. I'm going codeine crazy.
His entire aesthetic was built around a toxic romance with drugs, and fans were digging it.
I can say Future is the most intelligent rapper that I've ever seen that actually talk about drugs, because people rap Molly Percocet, kids rap it and still don't know what it is, so that's not a bad thing. He know how to trick them into liking it.
But Future later admitted he wasn't even really living that life, at least not the way his music suggested. He confessed that he had already cut back on lean, but he kept rapping about it because he knew fans expected it.
Like when I didn't want to tell nobody I stopped drinking lean. I didn't want to tell, because I felt like, damn, they're gonna be like, oh, his music changed because he ain't drinking lean no more. Oh, I can hear it when he changing. It's just like, and people are like, damn, why you don't even say it? It's like, but it just be hard when your fans so used to you a certain kind of way, is that certain persona.
He was actually scared to tell them he quit. He worried that if people knew he wasn't living what he rapped, they might not rock with his music anymore. This isn't to say songs like Codeine Crazy weren't authentic. Future was for sure hitting the double cup hard at one point, but he grew past it. While Future was secretly sobering up, his influence was still spreading like wildfire. The new generation of rappers, inspired by his sound, were actually diving deep into the drug culture he'd helped popularize. In the meantime, Future launched his own luxury cannabis brand in 2023, which was very much not a secret.
Yes, this is a brand that I got partnership with a few of my team members, and we just came into collaboration and just expanding our horizons as far as with our business and
Future made it out relatively clean, but he for sure made lean more mainstream. And it would have terrible consequences for one of his proteges. Juice WRLD came into the game fast, blending rap and emo influences into something fresh. His music wasn't just about partying though, it was a window into his mind. Songs like Lucid Dreams and Lean With Me were less about glorifying drug use and more like open cries for help. Unlike Future, who was just kind of playing the role towards the end, Juice was actually living what he rapped. And later on, Future would express his regret about his role as what basically amounted to an enabler in an interview for Rolling Stone in 2019, where he said, "I made it seem so effing cool." And when Juice told him that listening to Future's music inspired him to try lean as a child, he was like, "What have I done?" It really bothered me. It bothered me a lot. More than that, I thought it would bother me when he told me that. I didn't think I'd care about that stuff. 4 years ago, I probably wouldn't have cared if he told me, "Oh, that was good you was drinking." Now it's like, oh, how many other 6th graders did I influence to drink lean? But Juice WRLD was hooked on Percocets and lean, and he was vocal about how deep his addiction ran. The industry saw it, his team saw it, the fans saw it, but nobody stopped it. Cryptic tweets like this one would only add to the dangerous dance he was part of. My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple years, then fake my death. He made some attempts to get clean, deep down knowing that his lifestyle wasn't sustainable.
Really just becoming a healthier person, cleansing myself of certain shit. So like, that's obviously like an obstacle, but I'm getting there, so.
But he never could. Then came December 2019. When this happened,
rapper Juice WRLD is dead after suffering a medical emergency at Chicago's Midway Airport.
Juice was on a private jet when police raided the plane for drugs. In a panic, he swallowed multiple perks to hide them, not realizing he had just taken a lethal dose that mixed with the codeine already in his system. He collapsed moments later and was pronounced dead at the hospital. He was only 21. The wildest part? Juice saw it coming. He rapped about dying young, about pills taking him out, and in the end, his lyrics played out exactly like a prophecy, with lines like this. His death shook the industry, no doubt. It was one of those tragedies that you could for sure see coming. But because his music was so dope, you kind of just looked the other way and hoped for the best. But long before any of this, there was another rapper out there hitting the syrup hard. Lean's been around for a while. In the early 90s, DJ Screw was one of the first to openly rap about it. In 1996, 3 6 Mafia dropped Sippin' on Some Syrup, and it was one of the first big songs to openly talk about lean culture.
Sippin' on some scissor, sippin' on some sippin' on some scissor.
Then, a while later, Lil Wayne hit the scene. By the late 2000s, Lil Wayne was untouchable. He was a mixtape legend, a mainstream superstar, a punchline king. Wayne was doing numbers nobody could touch, but he was also drinking more lean than anyone in the game.
Like, I do give a sports analogy of it. I
respect that too.
I think that,
respect that.
like, I think he has 2 unbelievable albums.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're talking about the greatest, and
I did this because I was sick.
The double cup was basically attached to his hand, but while the fans saw a rock star behind the scenes, Wayne's body was shutting down.
Everybody want me to stop and all this and all that, but it ain't that easy, bro. It ain't that easy. It felt like death in your stomach when you stop doing it. You gotta learn how to stay, you gotta go through detox.
The first signs came with his repeated seizures. At first, he brushed them off, blaming exhaustion and stress. But in 2013, things got serious. He was hospitalized after reportedly overdosing on lean, and rumors swirled that he was close to death. Some reports even claimed he was being read his last rites.
Off of a mountain into a sea of codeine.
And it happened again, and again, and again. But it's not just the lean. The New Orleans rapper also suffers from epilepsy, and that he has a hard time even remembering his songs. His daughter fought back on the claims that another hospitalization in 2017 was because of an overdose, writing, "Don't believe everything you hear." But Wayne's admitted time and again that he loves the drink, and that it's because of people he idolized coming up, people like Houston rapper Pimp C, that he started drinking it.
Well, I was also young and I listened to Pimp C and they said we drinking that lean. It made me want to drink the lean.
But even when Pimp C died in 2008 from a codeine overdose connected to lean, Lil Wayne wouldn't let up.
I mean, let me be me, let me die, I'ma die, let me live, I'ma live.
Wayne eventually dialed down his drug use, but the years of damage had already taken a toll. His health suffered, his energy on records wasn't the same, and lean had permanently reshaped his career. The question, though, is how much of Wayne's problems are a result of his drug use, or how much is because of his epilepsy, or if his drug use made his epilepsy even worse.
Kids don't do drugs.
At his peak, Eminem was the most dangerous rapper alive. He was fast, witty, controversial, and no one could touch him. But while he was killing beats, he was also killing himself behind the scenes. In an essay he wrote for XXL in 2022, M admitted that he really didn't start using hard drugs until he got famous with the Slim Shady LP. But after that, he was in deep, saying he had 10 dealers at a time at one point, taking 75 to 80 Valium a night, and even taking trips to Tijuana to buy pills. At first, those pills were Vicodin and Valium, which he then started mixing with Ambien and alcohol to put him in this mental daze that he thought was putting him in a creative flow, but was really just messing with his memory. Early on in his career, he went on BET's 106 in Park for an interview. A few years later, he came back on and said this.
My life.
Well, the crazy part about that clip, and I don't know if people believe me when I say this, but I don't remember being here. Like, I literally have no recollection of actually doing the show.
For a while, he functioned like that. After the critical and commercial hits of the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP, and the Eminem Show, he put out Encore in 2004, right in the middle of the worst of his addiction. Compared to the greatness of those 3 albums, Encore was basically a dud. Eminem himself wrote that, "It was definitely a wake-up call, a slap in the face, a sobering moment because I was on a roll and then somehow I got off this roll and I knew in my heart of hearts, this is not the same quality as the Eminem Show." In 2005, the problem became big enough that M went to rehab. but it didn't stick.
I mean, I think that it was a problem when I went to rehab in 2005. And, you know, I came out and I wasn't really taking rehab serious. And I came out, I relapsed, and then, you know, the Proof thing happened, and then I kind of just went way overboard, yeah.
Proof was M's best friend and mentor. They came up together in Detroit. Proof was the best man at M's wedding. When he was killed in 2006, M spiraled. The next year, M overdosed on methadone after taking what he thought were regular pills. Doctors told him if he had been found just 2 hours later, he would have died. At one point, M's longtime manager, Paul Rosenberg, had to ask the doctors if they thought he'd have permanent brain damage.
It took a long time for my brain to start working again.
He went to rehab and cleaned up, relapsed, and then got clean for good in April 2008. But his next album, Relapse, just wasn't the same. Eminem is on the record saying it's his worst album.
What are your feelings on Relapse?
Felt like I sounded so demented in that shit that I got cemented in that shit.
Right.
And then I bent it back, bitch. And then I went to scratch itch.
You felt like you were stuck in it, and you felt like you just went way too heavy on the accents. So kind of.
Eminem basically had to learn how to rap sober. And that first album went really heavy with the accents. I mean, here's a sample from Bagpipes from Baghdad where he's trying to sound Middle Eastern, I guess. Without drugs, he had to completely rebuild his creative process. That's why Relapse and Recovery sound so different. He had to literally reprogram his brain. Some fans say he was never the same after getting clean, that his music lost its raw edge. But considering the alternative, maybe that was a trade-off worth making. So what do you think? Are there any artists whose sober work has been better than their drug days? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.